started out, you want to spend not very much money building something, and then you start running numbers, and the numbers crawl up. And we probably had some of those early conversations where I was like, we can do it for...
I think you said like 40.
I was going to say, I thought you said 40.
I think it was like, yeah, we can pull this off for 40,000. And it's probably not going to happen. We kind of like put together like what we'll be willing to spend, and we were basically like, we just can't justify opening a cafe spending more than $100,000 on the build out, and we would really love to spend like $65,000. We'd love to spend less, but when we started putting together all the numbers, equipment, stuff that had to change in the building that we were responsible for, right, there's no way we're getting away under 65. We came in right at like $72,000 in on the cafe.
I'm married, just so everyone knows.
We are doing Beyblades with our rings right now, just for the listeners.
That's not how we're starting.
No, people want to know.
All right, can we
this.
get this going? Because I'm trying to go play
some sports.
All sports.
Valor Nation, look alive. We're not in our normal home, podcast home,
studio.
Our den. Yeah, our man cave. Where are we, Riley?
Well, thank you for asking. The host, me.
Someone sets up the host sometimes.
Perfect. It's like you're like welcoming me to the stage.
Yes.
We're here with Elijah Knapp.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thank you.
Let's hear it, studio audience.
Who is...
Yeah.
And our producer, Timmy. Who is Elijah Knapp?
Am I supposed to answer that?
Yes.
And what gives you the right?
Yeah. Who do you think you are, and what gives you the right?
That is a really intense question, but I came prepared. I'm going to pull out my notebook real quick and answer that question. I don't like to speak to my own identity in this context.
Well, you have to.
I have to.
It's kind of what this whole thing's about.
It's just about me.
Give us an overview of you and why you're on this podcast right now.
Wow. Yeah. That's a really broad question.
Starting with overview of you.
An overview of me.
Yeah.
Well, my name's Elijah. I live here in Dayton, Kentucky, where we're at right now with my lovely wife, Isabel, and our baby on the way. You guys can consider this. Yeah, let's give it up, my baby. Hey,
what a cool way
you
to
heard it here
announce
first.
it.
Yeah, there is no official baby announcement yet. We haven't gotten the 3 pairs of shoes photo yet.
Okay.
But you heard it here on the Valor podcast. We're having a baby January 2025.
Let's go.
Joining the dad club with some of my best guys here.
Let's go.
Ethan, Ross.
We got to get all the kids
Riley.
together soon.
I kind of picture a world where that's going to happen, I think, where our kids are going to be friends. Maybe some of them will marry each other. That'd be awesome.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Go to the Sky Zone all together, do the dodgeball.
Oh, that would be...
Kick your butt.
I think we would have some fun times.
I go hard. We go full
That's going to be amazing. But I think I'm on this podcast because we're all doing this coffee thing together.
Yeah.
And I used to do it working for you.
Yes, you did.
These 3 guys right here.
From underling to overlord.
Yes. Now I get to use the same kind of intense leadership tactics that were used on me. I'm
the same language. Like,
yeah.
I can't tell you how many drinks
stuff we can't say on this podcast.
Again.
I broke a few ceramics today.
he did start really busting your chops about the espresso kind of first thing.
That was
Not
Ross.
me.
That was
That
Ross.
was me.
That was
I dialed in, and
And it was good.
well, not good
It
enough.
wasn't good enough.
In
You hear the internet.
Ibby's
It was
words, she said,
good.
and I said that this espresso kind of tastes like drip. And Ibby said, I like drip. And I said, well,
See, Ibby's on my side.
that is true.
She's always
That's true.
has been.
But we're all here together because I left Valor 2 years
Notoriously.
ago. 2 years ago, we're almost right
Made
at
that
the
YouTube
2-year
video
mark.
That was like 10 reasons I'm leaving Valor, and you were like,
Yes, I did a really big op-ed.
Yeah.
Is that what the use of op-ed?
yeah, oh yeah.
Memoir.
I wrote a memoir called Why I Left Valor Coffee.
And you did your exit interview on the podcast.
Yes,
That's
go
actually
back and
no
listen. The link is in the
Bio. The
click.
Best,
Yeah.
The best thumbnail ever.
Yeah.
That picture of you
Was it me with the mop?
with the mop.
Yeah. But that was I worked.
That should be hanging over here.
We're working
your
on
tapestry.
getting a stretched Costco canvas.
A very like Victorian style.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, get someone to paint that picture.
Like one of those live wedding painters.
Yeah.
But I'm here. I worked for Valor for 2 years. And then I have not worked at Valor for 2 years because I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio. And then I moved across the river just a few minutes to Dayton, Kentucky. And I opened this cafe that we're in right now with my lovely wife and my brother. Asa.
Called
Cafe Elliott or Elliott Coffee. Much debated. Whatever
one's
you
your
prefer. I'm just going to
Maps
say
says
it.
Elliott Coffee.
Yeah, I'm going to say it. I think Cafe Elliott sounds awesome.
I like that better personally.
I
Not that
do as
anyone
well.
asks.
But you probably influenced me to talk about coffee shops as cafes. My bride is of the opinion that anyone over the age of 40 immediately assumes that a cafe is like grilled cheese and beer and a full breakfast menu.
All of our
and-
over 40 listeners, please comment below.
what do you think a cafe is? And we really did debate that. And then we decided for this sounds terrible to start the podcast with this, but we're like, well, it's probably going to be hard if you're looking for coffee near you, cafe. Sometimes, you see something pop up and it's like you have Panera in your Yelp lineup and it's also like whatever cafe. And so they have coffee and breakfast and lunch and dinner. And
Yeah.
And so we decided to do on like the signage and the Google Maps and Yelp and whatever, Elliott Coffee. But I still think Cafe Elliott flows off the tongue way easier. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say Cafe Elliott.
Yeah.
But people
After
just call
your-
it's Elliott either way,
Sure.
or Elliott's if you
Elliot's.
I love Elliott.
if you're talking to also someone mostly over the 40 crowd.
And why
Megan
Throw
called
an
it Elliott's on the way
apostrophe
here.
S. Yeah.
And why did you name it Elliot?
Who wants to take credit for that nickname? Anybody?
I will just say that my bit.
Dale Ellis, I think is where that started. I really
Give it to Dale. Give it to Dale.
former Valor roaster.
Dale loves
Ellis.
getting credit for stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Dale. But
Smash like
I-
Dale.
the short version
Jonathan.
that we've been telling people is that Elliot was the top name on our baby names list. And that's true. But we fell in love with that name because I was nicknamed that on Valor Bar. I would say, you think it was a pretty short time?
Well, I really like to call you a Longja.
Yeah,
From
you
Sam
and
Thomas.
Sam Thomas were on the
I was just
Alonzo
thinking
crew.
my bit's usually just to say someone's name slightly wrong.
But Elliot was either Ross or it was Ross and Dale,
Yeah.
maybe in tandem.
I remember calling you Elliot a lot.
You were the one
Elliot
that introduced me
Schmelliot.
to people as Elliot, including former Valor employee Heidi, who really thought that was my name for a while.
Yeah. I mean, Elliot's
So
a great
I'm going to
name.
give Ross credit for that.
Sorry, Dale.
Retracted Dale.
Yeah, we're
Dale,
gonna have to
you also really kept the fire burning for a while. But what you want to know why we named the cafe that?
Yeah.
I think if you come to this space, I think it just feels like Elliot to me. This was Bud's garage for 45 years. Bud Fowler, who still lives in the neighborhood, is in his upper 90s. His daughter came through and was telling some stories the other day.
Wow.
He was apparently a father figure for a lot of people in the neighborhood, ran a gas station, a mechanic shop, and these two buildings. And I think we kind of knew all of that as we were talking to the building owners about the history of the space. But even before we knew that it was just called Bud's Garage for forever, it just felt like it should have like an unpretentious neighborhood name.
Yeah.
It could just be like a happy, very low concept name. And
Something like Caffeine Collective.
yes, yeah, Caffeine Collective. Anything with a reference to a coffee bean in the name and the logo.
Oh yeah.
But our designer on Fiverr couldn't come up with anything good enough with the bean and caffeine names.
And you're the designer on Fiverr.
Yes, yeah, I paid myself $27.
And you're still
to do
keeping
it.
people fueled on this property one way or another.
Yeah.
Bud's
Come on.
Garage.
Are you guys
We-
the, are you
we
guys
all-
the pit crew?
Honestly, that would feel really good, wouldn't it? You can't see it in this frame, but we're kind of like a Route 66 themed cafe.
Get your kicks on Route 66.
Yeah.
Dude, the thing that I think is always funny when people put fostering community in their verbiage because it's been so overplayed. I'm sorry.
Maybe abused.
Listen, if you've ever done it, we have too.
There's nothing wrong with
Did you
that.
guys have that in your marketing
I think
material?
so.
Like when we
Do we
first
have it?
started.
Do we have it in our?
You?
Yeah.
No. Let me finish.
Let him finish.
Sorry.
What I've noticed
Let 'em cook.
since we've been here is that you actually seem to be doing that. Isn't that funny? That it's actually a thing.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Last night, you, Ibby, Timmy have us over for dinner.
Timmy's on the grill.
And afterwards, you guys are like, let's go here, just to these places in your neighborhood that aren't in any traditional sense of the word hip, like, you know, these like cutting edge, fancy build out places, but you're like a business owner in your neighborhood, going to other businesses in your neighborhood and supporting them. And then you have all these people who live around here, like Little Joe and Pop Pop, and
Hey, shout out Little Joe and Pop Pop if you guys listen to this.
and
Bro,
others
They listen.
who
Long time
just
listener.
walk up and, you know, I don't even know if they get coffee every time they come by, but they're just like want to talk to you and Ibby because you're a part of the community. So that is wild. You live within walking distance.
Yeah. I walked here. It took me approximately 6 minutes to walk here this morning.
So
That's nice.
That's different, dude. I'm a
Built
poser. I
different.
live 50 minutes from work.
You heard it. You're gonna chop that up and make that a reel.
Yeah.
How to survive a long commute.
Yep. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's my
That's
opinion.
your
piece.
observation.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, just laying that out, sounds like this guy's living the dream of a lot of people. How'd you do it?
Return to the original American dream. That's that. I mean, I think that is a core value of mine and Ibby's for sure. Is that when we were looking at opening a cafe, it's fly.
Fly
If
around.
anyone
is
knows
wildin'.
fly solutions, that would be awesome. We're trying to figure that out. Things to solve in the first weeks of a cafe that has a giant garage door.
Right.
And no, but I think it is core to how Ibby and I wanted to live our life. That we were like, if we're going to open a cafe, and maybe there is this underlying value that the point is to foster community, whether we put it in our marketing or not, that it feels a little bit disingenuous to be separated from the community that we're in, and to open something not. I think that Alpharetta and Dunwoody are very different places. I think the general broader Atlanta culture is just different in general because people are like have been raised on driving a long way for lots of different things. But here in Northern Kentucky, and maybe greater Cincinnati, but Northern Kentucky more than anywhere, people care that you are in the community. It is probably my most, I think Timmy would be able to say this for sure, but it's probably one of the most had conversations with local folks. It's like, I'm like, yeah, me and my wife live 4 blocks away. And that's not gimmicky. I mean, obviously it's true. But we were pretty unified on that when we had talked about opening a cafe. We're like, we're going to pick the neighborhood that we feel like we can start a family in and that we want to be a part of, and that we have like maybe something to add to the conversation. But we want to actually be able to invite our real neighbors to the shop and be like, yeah, it's like just over there. And we want to be able to invite people from the shop to our house and be like, hey, do you want to come over for dinner sometime? And even in a few weeks of being open, both of those things have happened. And we love it. Our neighbors, Whitney and Riley, have walked down here multiple times with their beautiful golden retrievers, Biscuit and Gravy, which is awesome. They just moved here from Utah, which is awesome. And they were like, we feel more at home now having dogs named Biscuit and Gravy in Kentucky instead of Utah. So people didn't get the bit. But it's been really fun. They like, well, that's like part of their routine. Their parents were just in town at 2 separate weekends. They brought both sets of parents through. And it's like, it's a neighborhood thing in that regard, you know? And so I think it's like really easy to make people feel at home when it actually is like our vicinity now. And now Ibby and I share a car because you gotta fund your build out somehow, guys. 2007 Prius sold.
No way. I had no idea.
Really? Did you not know that?
No.
You knew that.
Our matching cars.
Yeah. The
How much you
Prius,
get for it? Say it on there.
hey, more than it's probably worth. But I sold it to my sister.
So he's a crook.
He's
Yeah.
deferring.
No, I sold it to my sister, and I had just replaced the hybrid battery.
Dang,
The
that's
plot
cold.
thickens.
No, well, the
At $30,000.
I
She's
spent
16.
I spent a lot of money to replace the hybrid battery in it last year.
Oof. Been
So
there.
I put
Been-
I put
also been there.
$7,000 in that car in a few years, $5,000, and I definitely lost at least $5,000 on that car. So, but I don't have a car anymore, so I walk to work unless I can get a ride.
Yeah. So you said something in there about when you and Ibby were first thinking about where you want to be, if you want to open a coffee shop or not. And it made me think of how many people on this earth, specifically in our nation, our great nation, that are thinking about opening a coffee shop. There's a lot of those people.
Yeah,
More than you think, Elijah.
more
Yeah,
than you
Elijah.
could ever imagine. Yeah,
There's
Brought in
also
your
a lot of people
mind.
who are thinking about opening coffee carts.
yeah,
And
that's true.
I would love to hear your perspective on how you went from I'm thinking about opening a coffee shop. You're in that maybe idea phase. Maybe you have a Pinterest mood board of a table like this, or maybe flowers like that. So how did you
Decorative
go from that to like actually taking the first bit of action?
From zero to hero.
No,
Hero.
not hero.
That's actually the name of my next memoir that will all be coming out this fall. You know, this is going to sound really, really cheesy in a sense, but I listen to a podcast. I don't typically recommend like hustle culture, hack the system podcasts. I'm not going to credit the person that this came from because it's probably not worth listening to their content. But
It was
the
us.
Ethan Rivers podcast.
It was our podcast.
No, but I was listening to this guy, and he was talking about this idea that asking for advice very easily becomes a stalling mechanism to actually doing something.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you do because we've talked about it. But that
You guys don't.
at
Sorry.
a certain point, you are gathering information on how to do something so that you don't actually have to do the part where you don't know how to do it. And in a really funny term, I moved to Cincinnati. I was kind of in a debate when I was at Valor. Dunwoody was opening, some possible management opportunity at Dunwoody. I love Valor. I've always loved Valor. Love representing Valor. And I also had an offer to come work for a light fixture design studio with Andrew Nyer here in Cincinnati. Completely different field, but creative and fun and interesting. And I loved the kind of the ethos of what Andrew's done.
It's like more than what we were doing, right?
Yeah, like so much cooler than what you guys are doing. No, but I was ready to mix things up a little bit. And I thought, okay, this guy's built this really cool creative business. I want to hopefully build a cafe one day. I said it on the podcast a couple of years ago. Like, this would be kind of the dream scenario. And maybe I'll learn some like valuable things about how to start my own business. And Andrew and I have become great friends. We see each other often. We talk often, creative collaborators and friends. But the biggest thing I learned from Andrew is that be a pretty like normal person with really chaotic sides of life or business and have a lot of things that are not solved for and still make something work. And there was a point where I was like, oh, I've been like taking notes on how to start a shop and like, what am I going to do? And there's all these things. I was like, I'm just never going to, there's not enough questions I could ask to know how to start a cafe. And honestly, from the last, like, since last fall of figuring this out, one, I've been surrounded by guys like you who have answered lots of questions for me. Two, I've just stumbled my way through actually doing the process of opening a shop. And I think I hit a point, we found this building, and I was like, this is perfect. I have no clue what we're doing. I don't know if we can make enough money to stay in business. I don't know that this is the smartest idea in the year that I'm getting married and like rearranging my whole life. And I don't know who's going to help make it happen or how it's going to be a plausible thing, but I just know that it's kind of a now or never thing. And when we found the building, I was like, the next time we find something that we love this much, we might not be in the position in life where we have the energy to try, you know? And all that stuff was super daunting. The financial side of opening a shop, all of the paperwork stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't figure. I still, like there's so many things that were like, wait, I have to fill out this paperwork. Oh, you have to have a tax account for this thing. You have to get permission to do that. Like all of that stuff. And there was just a point where I was like, I cannot gather any more information without trying. So let's just try to open a shop. And if we hit a wall that we can't breakthrough. I guess we'll just say that we tried, you know. And we definitely hit lots of walls that I thought we couldn't break through. But the shop's open, which is awesome.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Dude, and I say this because I saw it with my own eyes. You took a very different approach in a lot of ways than we did. And that's the cool thing about businesses, is that they're all a little bit different. And if you listen back to our podcast with David from Sidetrack, you'll hear his different approach to his business. What made you want to widely publicize a lot about your build-out process on Instagram, just out of curiosity? Because like I think for us, it was like we covered our windows and like kept things quiet.
I definitely thought about covering our windows. I'm like, we had our Linea PB sitting on the floor of this garage for like 3 months, and the old garage door that was in here was being held closed by like a piece of metal that if you rammed it hard enough, it would just bend and open. So
Sorry, thieves, too late.
yeah, too late. Pop. Local neighbors said that it would not go well for anyone that touched our machine. So we trusted him as our security. And thanks, Greg, our insurance guy, for getting us some extra coverage for that too. You know? But I think that I had this kind of crazy moment when we decided to actually sign the lease on this building. Because I had talked to all of you pretty regularly a lot about if we should do this or not. So we found this building in October of 2023 and kind of immediately had open doors, great opportunity to see like this could really work as a build out, and there's support around it. We think we could probably pull together some funds. That's great. We've been saving some for this. And so it was like a good possibility. But then when we actually got to signing the lease, we had like a loose concept for a brand and no following at all. And I have lived around, I'm from Central Ohio originally, lived about an hour away in Dayton, had some coffee friends here, but have been in Atlanta most recently, and then just like working on a laptop, designing websites here in town for a little while, and then working at the Light Fixture Studio. So we were like, we're going to put a cafe in a town that I would say 50% of Cincinnati folks have never heard of. If you ask us, or if you just poll random people, if we like, we'll go out to dinner tonight, and you say that you just were at a cafe in Dayton, Kentucky, they will probably think that's at least 45 minutes from where they are.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, people like there are tons of people. Probably 10 people today that I interact with said they've never been to this neighborhood.
But it's like 9 minutes away.
Yeah, because there's for a long time it's a little bit of an insular community in a sense, and the small business community has been pretty quiet for a long time, and so I had not really spent much time around here before we started exploring Northern Kentucky neighborhoods, looking for a place to call home. And so we're looking at like a neighborhood that people aren't talking about. It is not at all like everyone's talking about what's happening in Dayton, Kentucky.
Have you heard about the multi-development live, work, play happening in Dayton, Kentucky? Like, no.
There's actually some awesome new things happening, and there's some folks who've been here doing really great stuff for a while, and it's an awesome place. It's like pretty much the little downtown strip here is businesses run by folks that live a couple blocks from their shops, and most of them have come through and met us, or we've been at their shops and met them, and it's a great feel. But in Cincinnati, we're like, none of our friends live around here. We're just going to move to this neighborhood that no one's talking about. You have to clarify that it's in Kentucky because Dayton, Ohio is so much more known that you just can't say Dayton, or people just assume that it's the one that's an hour away, not the one that's 9 minutes away. So posting on social media, I was like, we kind of need people to like be excited to check this thing out when we open, or we're going to flop. You know, and it maybe wasn't that strategic. We were excited to share stuff, but I was like, we kind of have to have a whole brand feel and have people talking about this, because we can't really start as a sleepy thing, because no one's just wandering through looking for coffee here. Mm-hmm. There's like, we've gotten a good commuter crowd and all that stuff, but like people are coming because of social media and word of mouth almost exclusively at this point.
Yeah.
You know? And so I was like, hey, we're kind of doing everything by hand. Asa, my brother and partner in the business, built all this furniture. We had to like plumb the entire second building where the bar is. There's so many like hands-on things. And so we were like, well, I think people are kind of into that side of like, whoa, they like really worked hard to make this thing happen. And we designed like we were really thinking about the design. So as stuff came together, we were like, and here's a progress pic, and here's our friends. People volunteered their time to help paint and scrub stuff, and like everything had such a good feel to it because it was community driven by our friends. And so we're like just taking film photos of people digging stuff and taking little videos, and I don't know, people loved it. I loved it.
It's really smart. You're a smart guy.
Yeah, big. I went to marketing school, guys. No. But people do love that stuff. They do. They want to feel invested. There are people who have come in and they've been like, I've followed from the very beginning. And I've been so excited to see this space change. And they've never been in this neighborhood. They don't know. Like, they're just like feel invested because they've watched 6 months of Buildout. And that's really fun because it's like they've been invited into the fun of us figuring out how to solve problems and us building stuff and designing a bar and having a giant hole in the bar floor for 3 months while we try to build around stuff and get floors plumbed or get all the underfloor plumbing done. Now here we are.
You ever heard people say, how do you plan to market your business?
Yes, I got called by Malik, a Yelp representative this week, who I tend to accidentally stay on the phone too long in situations where I know it's not going anywhere. And 38 minutes later, I was still like, he was like, you don't want to lose momentum, man. You want to sponsor your business on Yelp as soon as possible, or people aren't going to come. And I was like,
no, you don't.
I was like, dude, to be honest with you, I never go to sponsored results on Yelp. And I think that we're just going to let people talk and hopefully people will come, you know. But there have been a lot of people who have asked. There was a person who works for the city who came through when there was a line out the door and she was like, what's your marketing thing? Like, well, how are you marketing this? I'm like, I mean, people are doing that work for us.
Yeah.
But because I think people just want to market stuff that they like. I talk about Valor all the time. Anytime someone mentions they're going to be in the South ever, I'll be like, hey, if it's within an hour of you, go check out my friends of Valor. And I had a guy this week go on his way moving to Florida. Shout out Jason.
Let's go.
And
yeah,
he stopped and he texted me a long, awesome thing about how he met an employee that I've never interacted with at Valor.
Get a name?
Such a, is there Gracie there?
No, there's not.
Well,
And that's
I don't know who it is, but
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure Gracie was a great guest barista on that day.
yeah,
She just-
bar takeover.
a purple cow is a purple cow. You know, it doesn't
Seth
need
Godin.
it doesn't need anything else. And apparently, according to Elijah, Valor is a purple cow. I can tell you right now
I think so.
that Cafe Schmelliot is 100% a purple cow,
And so is Elliott Coffee.
and so is Elliot.
And it was
Cafe.
really cool to watch your Instagram because it made me think of when we Valor first started. Thank you, and thank you, Timmy. Timmy's taking film camera photos. When we first started, we were like, you know, we're just going to really put our authentic selves out there while we're like doing this cart thing. So we would take our iPhones and turn on the story and just be like talk to the camera vlog style, like
I love that. I miss that era.
in the truck, you know, at the pop up, like in the early days, and like there was no filter whatsoever, and we
Not
would
even
do
like a Rio de Janeiro filter.
No.
You know?
yeah, like it wasn't even sepia.
No.
And we would do
We were saying like D and like S.
Values
I'm just
Monday.
kidding. We were.
super vulgar.
You guys
in the
remember
early days.
Values
Yes.
Monday?
Bro.
We would
my
talk about
lifeblood.
one of our like probably 9 core values at the time. We only have 3 now, but
These flies are really going to be the marker of the episode, aren't they?
yeah.
It's going to be like a choreography.
But my point is that you did that same thing with the authenticity and the storytelling, but you did it in a more beautiful way because all we had was our iPhones, and like it was like mostly us behind the bar, just like, hey guys, it's DVD. And
Hey, it worked.
DVD.
It honestly did work because the people that watched those stories, even if it was like 400 people, Like that was a really captive audience. And I
400
remember
people is not. Yeah, that's,
you have like our Values Monday thing. We would have maybe 6, however long the stories are, slides. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like I remember watching the engagement on those, and like it was so high
All
like,
the way through.
Yes,
from like people
all the
are,
way
like,
through,
keep clicking on
exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember our pictures that we posted at that time had a lot of likes compared to how many followers we had. So we had a small amount of followers, but a lot of there's like high interaction.
Yeah.
And that was just because, that wasn't because it was pretty. It was just because we were authentic and we were just like.
People wanted to support you too. You put yourselves out there a little bit more than just like cool brand, cool merch, cool, all that stuff.
And that's what I love about this. And I love that it's called Elliot too, which is like your former nickname, is like this cafe just feels like you and your community embodied and like personified into a cafe, you know? And like how your brother Asa just like built all this, and like Zion helped build some of the stuff out there too. It just feels like such a, family grown thing. And I think that like people can tell, people can tell that it's not just this corporate thing that some investor dreamed up and thought would be a good ROI opportunity,
Right. And people typically, you don't have to tell them that it's the way that it's run or your intention behind the thing, I think. And if you have to tell them, oh, we're trying to be super hospitable here, that's like it's a really weird thing to go to your friend's house and have them tell you how they want you to experience their home. Right? We're like, hey, we really put up a lot of cool art in here, and we really are intentional about farm to table at our house. So just know that I got this tomato from the farmer's market. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you go to your friend's house, you have an impression of like, man, Riley must be really into this thing. And I really like that thing. I like that he really cares about this kind of art, or that he must be a really big coffee guy because he has a great coffee setup at his house. That's really fun. Like, and he does have a great coffee setup at his house. But
Flair.
That
no one knows.
Yeah, let's talk about the flair, guys. But it's been fun here because it is all of the heart and soul that I could possibly put into something, and all that Ibby could put into it, and Asa, and so many. I mean, you guys influenced us. David Bazzilli from Sidetrack, JP McKenzie from Meadowlark, all these different folks. I had like really important conversations along the way about how you guys have done stuff. But even just brainstorming, I'm like, I don't know how to actually get something to become a real thing. Or and I'm shocked still now that we're open. It's like kind of this haze of like, whoa, people are like coming every single day, and like more and more people and new people, and they're having an experience with this and telling their friends, and they're bringing their mom back, and they're bringing their significant other back, and all this stuff. And it's like exactly what we would want it to be, but we're also being exactly the way that we would want to be in the space, if that makes sense, So it's like all of that. I mean, if you go to my personal Instagram and then you go to the Elliot Instagram, it's like, I mean, it is just the stuff that I like to, and I just get an excuse to make that stuff. And that's really fun. And it's the same thing with the coffee. It's like we're making the coffees that we love for people. And we're like, the drip that we have on, I'm actually like, this is really good drip. Because it's the exact drip that I would hope a cafe would serve.
Yeah.
And then we get to serve it,
That's awesome. What is your menu like? Do you have a menu philosophy, or like whenever you're thinking about the coffees that you're going to have on, or what you're going to have on drip, or either of your 2 drip options? Hello.
When we came into this space, we're in kind of like what would be kind of a split neighborhood between a working class neighborhood and kind of like a newer young professionals neighborhood. And one of my biggest qualms with specialty coffee,
hot take,
is
hot take alert
you
coming
guys
in.
Listen up. One of my hot takes is just that the idea of holding this ground for specialty coffee, that you need to force somebody to like something that they don't like, or ask them to explore new things every single day. I just don't think that's the responsibility of a cafe necessarily. And that doesn't mean I don't think that that means that you have to have like frozen drinks on your menu if that's not something you like. And we don't have frozen drinks on our menu, and I can't picture that yet. Yeah, we're trying to save up money for a Vitamix with the cover,
the quiet one.
The quiet one. Yeah.
Ours is in the mail.
Yeah, it's really cool. Hey,
it's been stuck in the mail for like 2 years.
If you guys can comment on this video, or if you can do that on other platforms, if we should have a soft serve machine, just let us know, because we have a great deal on the servers.
The answer's always yes.
I want to do a soft serve affogato so bad.
Timmy, thoughts?
A soft agato.
So, with soft serve affogato.
Timmy, sit down, dude. Calm down.
The idea that we wanted to present is the most honest version of like, hey, we kind of have something for everyone as long as you like coffee in general. And even not, I mean, we've sold more matcha than some of our coffee drinks. I think we probably made more matcha drinks than cortados or something so far.
That's a shame.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Hey,
You need to get different customers.
but we have a more traditional workers' comp for everybody out there. Valor's workers' comp,
Sup?
Honduras.
Let's go.
On drip. And it has been a hot topic in the cafe because there are even like a lot of our barista friends are like, man, I just wish more shops carried a cup that like wasn't always crazy bright and floral. Mm-hmm. And then we also, on the other hand, have been carrying this amazing Ethiopia and Colombia from Elliott Coffee. And today we had tan lines from Valor on. And they're like crazy coffees, like probably the craziest batch brew you will have almost anywhere, especially in small town Kentucky.
Man, I had tan lines in Knoxville on drip, and then tan lines in Dayton, Kentucky on drip.
Shout out
Everyone, tan lines is taking over the world. But we want...
You nail both of those, though.
They're really good. They're really good.
Yeah.
They really are. They're just good. They're good coffees in a different right. And another shop owner was saying that the other day. He's like, man, I wish more people were just willing to put on coffees that you don't have to think really hard about or give a huge pitch for. Yeah. And I think I came from a coffee background originally where there was this pride and like, we won't let people do these things that we don't like. And I'm like, there's plenty of stuff. I'm not a daily matcha drinker. I do enjoy our matcha a lot. But people love matcha. There are people who have come to the shop like 7 times already, and they've never gotten a coffee drink, and maybe they never will. Maybe they hate coffee, but they love the experience of the shop, and they love getting a peach matcha or just like a plain matcha latte.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to try to convince them that they need to enjoy an extremely floral washed coffee. You know?
I remember us kind of like peeling the layers off of the onion as we went along of things that we were the onion. We were stinky.
Wow, that's deep.
We just needed to
We
be.
made people cry.
We just needed to be like caramelized.
It definitely made me cry.
I remember peeling back those layers of, at first we were like, we hate syrups. And then we were like, okay, syrups. And then we were like, I think the next thing after that was
16-ounce cups.
16-ounce cups. Yeah. And then there was like the merch that we sold, going from like merch that we liked to like merch that we personally probably wouldn't use. But it was like, what does the broader, and it's funny now, the merch that I probably wouldn't wear is like kind of like the cool stuff. But
yeah.
Anyways.
And cold brew too. That one.
And cold brew.
You want to do cold brew.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, I understand having your limits.
Right.
Well, but if you don't want to make blended like Frappuccino type drinks, okay.
Don't do it.
Especially because it's an efficiency thing. But like, if you're going to be so caught in your ways, I just imagine, like you were saying, you and David have such a way of this. Talking about like someone at your home. If like I had someone over at my house recently and we made decaf and he put milk in it. And
you
imagine me being like, and the funny thing is,
dude, no, just try it. Just try it.
Just try it. You're going to like it. I promise.
The funny thing
it's got a natural sweetness.
It was Luke.
Vineyard?
Yes. No, he didn't even question. He didn't even ask me. He was just like,
he was
like, I'm going to put some milk in this. And then I haven't thought about it since until this moment, talking about people, coming over. Or like, if I made someone a steak at my house and they wanted to put ketchup on it, like,
I don't know.
You're like, no.
There's a line.
You're like, hey, get out right now. But
there isn't.
But I think that's the other thing in our menu is like, we wanted to do something that doesn't feel like it's high end necessarily. And so even like some of our seasonal drinks or whatever, which that's another thing. Seasonal drinks, I hated on that concept before I worked at Valor. I was like, these. Like,
you looked down on us.
Oh yeah. Well,
when
I first came in, I was like, oh my gosh, they have like in this like goofy name seasonal drinks, which probably became more of a thing after I joined. But I was like, is it not good enough to just have a plain cappuccino that's always in season or whatever? It's not. And it's not, you know. But what's funny is there's a side of that. People want to try something new. That's just human nature. We've been doing this honey orange cappuccino. Then it's just a local beekeeper provided us some awesome honey, and we do like a single zest of orange. And it's really delicious, I think. And people have loved it. And there are people who would normally be drinking a big vanilla latte, getting an iced, like shaken version of that, a short iced latte version of that, every single day, and bringing back their other friends who also love an iced vanilla latte. I don't care. I'm totally happy if people want to have an iced vanilla latte. But they're like, they wouldn't just be coming in for a cappuccino or an iced cappuccino. But the honey orange is like the gateway, and it's like it's just God's gift to humanity. It's like two really good flavors without any work, no extra stuff. God.
People,
and it's awesome. Yeah,
people look down on it until they take the sip of that, or until you took the sip of the Sprojito, and you're like,
and then sometimes you're like, okay, I love a good cap, but I love a honey orange cap. I do.
Yeah,
and the whole menu. I don't know. I don't want to approach this place like it's a high-end cocktail bar, because unless you're in a certain earning bracket, you don't go to a high-end cocktail bar every single night. That's just, it's not budget friendly, nor is it something, it just doesn't, that's not like a lifestyle thing. So trying to create a menu that's like, I don't know how this works long-term for the business, but creating a fairly affordable menu where you could be like, yeah, I think I could afford to be here like 5 days a week and just get like a drip one day, a cap the next day. And it's like, I'll be out, I don't know how much money at the end of the week, but I'm not trying to be like, hey, you need to try this $12 thing with this crazy exclusive anaerobic coffee that we'll only have for one day. And we're adding like volcanic ash water that we get, whatever that, like, I'm not trying to create these things that feel like exclusive. It's like,
which segues nicely into Elliott Cafe, or Cafe Elliott, a celebration of ordinary days.
Dude, the funny thing is, even at all of the like 3 high-end cocktail bars I've been to, all they care about is finding you a drink that you want, that you're going to enjoy.
Right.
So,
right.
And that comes from having a vast variety of things for a lot of different people, you know?
And getting over the hump of like pretension.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of places out there who only do old fashions with a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup, and like they have an old fashioned menu and that's it or something. But
it's a different mentality. It's like, it's a hospitality mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Of how you have all these crazy ingredients. You've got the volcanic ash water, but you only use that as a means to like totally nail someone's experience if they're into that, you know?
It's good.
And then it's on you to make that possible within your model.
Ethan, what do you want to say?
How big's your staff, man? I mean, with how like such a blow up of a shop, you know, like you probably have like what, 10 people on?
Yeah, we're just hired 11 and 12 for this week.
How many people have worked for you since you've opened, though?
Yeah, that is great. We've definitely had some awesome fill-ins. Myers, Steven, Blake, Chloe, Kate, Danny, Ibby, Asa.
Yeah.
But really,
who else?
And hey, Riley, Ross, Ethan. But when we started out, one, you know, you're like, how are you going to afford to pay people? You have to actually make money.
It's kind of scary.
It is actually terrifying. I
was scared.
I still am scared.
No, but I like the number of nights that I laid in bed during Buildout and was like, how are we going to make enough money to like actually make sure that someone can pay their rent every month? Like, I'm like, I can always figure something out, but I'm going to hire somebody and then I'm going to payroll them every other week, and they're going to rely on me to bring in enough business and somehow have enough money in the bank that they're going to make a living. That's a crazy responsibility at a certain point. And so I had no clue if we would hit any of our projected numbers starting out. If it would be like, oh, we're going to do like $100 days and then we're going to close. If we're down to $100, we're going to close. But Timmy took the risk of moving here from Georgia. Timmy, a friend that I met at Valor, who's been in coffee shop management in Georgia for a while. Great barista, amazing person. And I was like, hey, if we could have anyone, Ibby and I had this conversation, if we could have like one person join the team who would want to be in full time, bring their best, and that we could afford to pay a full living wage to be here full time, who would it be? And Timmy was pretty much like the main. We're like, it's never going to happen, but we're going to have Timmy on. And
It was like James Hoffman,
yeah. Scott Rao,
Matt Perger,
George Howell.
Timmy.
And you
Timmy.
just so happened to ask Timmy first.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I also asked the other guys. They all said yes, but Timmy won out too.
He beat them in a game of basketball
Yes, and he would,
for the job.
wouldn't he?
Because this is a basketball
Timmy and the
themed
James
cafe.
Hoffman basketball showdown would be crazy.
Dude, Timmy would kick his butt.
But no doubt.
We don't know. We don't
You
know.
might break a bone.
We
I
simply
don't know. But that has been great in two ways. One, I was like, all right, even if nothing else works, I think that we can really afford to pay this person. Even if I like in some crazy situation had to cut my own pay, we'll like keep this thing going as long as Timmy wants to be here. And two, the hospitality culture of the shop for me like has to exist on familiar faces, you know? So if we have 10 people on and everyone's schedule is all over the place, that means that someone who's been into the shop like 5 times is going to keep having this experience where someone's like, is this your first time in? I don't think I've met you before. Have you ever seen our menu? All of that stuff. And so the fact that Timmy and I are pretty much on every single day together, open to close right now, which is definitely not sustainable for the entirety of the future of the business. But people like love Timmy already because Timmy is awesome and he's great with people and he's an amazing barista. And then I'm there as, you know, the owner or whatever, which people are excited to be able to be like, oh, this is your place. You know, and it's like, well, honestly, we're all bringing our own flair to this. But yeah, I'm like really proud of the space that we have. And Ibby's been on a good bit too. And people are now like, she's not on much because she works a full-time job, which is awesome to help get this thing off the ground. But people are like, oh my gosh, tell Ibby I said every day now already. That's like, she's a core face in the shop. And I think that's hard starting out. You guys did that with Valor, where it's like people still know you and ask like where you guys are. And you've handed that torch off really well to not have to be on bar every day.
Thank you.
But I think that would have been really bad if you would have tried to switch off bar like month 1 and be like, hey, we don't really want to be here anymore, you know? And for me, if I never had to be off bar, I would be really happy. That's my happiest spot, without a doubt.
That's kind of the benefit of smaller ownership group than our conglomerate of Ethan, Ross, and
You heard it
Riley.
here first, guys. Valor is a conglomerate.
Yeah. Dude, is that like your favorite thing about being an owner is like the passive income?
Yeah, there's a ton of it's super easy for us to make 6-7 figures a month without not from hours, just from like letting the sales roll in. And no, that is not true at all. But I will say this. I think Ethan said this to me. For anyone out there that's listening to this who is starting a shop or is in the midst of thinking about starting a shop, the hours that you will spend on the shop are different hours than your 9 to 5. And they're different hours than being on bar for someone else's shop. They just are. And if you are going through that process and it sounds terrible to like endlessly pour yourself into that, then maybe don't do it, because it is really, really like, I feel like I heard stories from you guys of like, well, you're going to do these like late nights and Buildout where you just like have to get something done to be on schedule. And we did. Asa honestly pulled a lot more late nights than I did. I mean, he's amazing. Thank you, Asa. Asa stayed up to like 4 or 5 in the morning multiple times and did multiple like 1 a.m. Buildout nights, and then got up at 6 a.m. and drove and worked a 12-hour day in his day job the next day, which is amazing. But
he built different though.
he is amazing. He's amazing. But we have put in a ton of hours. And in these first couple of weeks of being open on bar, I mean, we've put in easy 100-hour weeks, no thought, like where it's just like the moment you're up till the moment you go to bed, there's something to do for the shop. And you're like, oh man, I probably should pay our business insurance. I probably figure out how to make payroll actually happen. I probably need to actually file all the random Lowe's runs that we did to see like how much we're out. You know what I mean? All that stuff.
Yep.
And you get off of, you're like, oh, we just opened, closed. All that stuff's kind of a little bit inefficient, so it's taking us forever to close. And it's like, it just still has to happen, you know?
Yep.
But it is different doing that, like, because at the end of the day, we got to open this thing for folks, and it's like your house, you know what I mean? Like you remodel, same thing. And all it kind of does go back to that. You like get to remodel your kitchen, and it's a total pain to do that. But you know you're going to cook so many great dinners there, and your friends are going to love it, and your kids are going to love it. And it makes it worthwhile.
So all that work feels different because you're the owner.
Because you're not even making calculations on how you're going to make money back on it. Like you forget that it's an hourly, like there's an hourly calculation. Our hourly, you know it.
Yeah.
The hourly is really bad for
It like becomes a part of you.
right. You're like, you want, when I'm designing a graphic for our, like, they were like designing the menu for today's Valor bar takeover at 12:05 a.m. before getting up at 5 this morning. There's no real, like, I didn't have to redesign the whole menu as much as I did. I just thought it'd be a fun thing for today. And when I'm sitting on my knees next to the printer trying to unjam paper at after midnight, knowing that I'm going to be up in 5 hours, I would not be doing that for my day job.
Never lose that. I feel like we kind of all really unmarried ourselves from the business to too much of an extreme, to where I almost think of it as this separate thing, which I think is healthy in some ways.
There's probably time for that, yeah.
But then at the same time, it's unhealthy in the sense that it's like, it is this thing, but it's also 33% of me and 33% of Ethan and 33% of Ross. And that's like our ideas, that's our beliefs, that's our money, our assets. It's like, that's us.
Our liabilities.
Our balance sheets, profit and loss statements. Like, but I kind of lost some of that. And I feel like we're kind of coming back into it in some ways.
I think you are. I think that there's a fun. I mean, you've been at this a lot longer than we have, so there's probably seasons of that.
And it looks different based on our roles. That's shifting, you know? And I think there's, just like you're going to go through the season of having a kid where you're not going to put in 100-hour weeks for a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you literally won't. Like you will just do, you will take whatever.
The menu design will not be as priority coming up here in a little while. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, there's like the freak scenarios of something happens and you have to go to the cafe, whatever. But it's like you just will choose to spend your time elsewhere. But I think what happened for us when we talked about it ad nauseum on the program, but when you pay someone else to do the work, like we were just kind of transitioning our roles into a new thing, you know? Like you guys aren't soaking all of your time or sinking all of your time into cafes anymore, but you have like new things to take ownership of and like step full into. Like you're developing the website probably way beyond your usual 9 to 5 at this point because you're so passionate about it, and you're doing the same thing.
It looks really good,
you know, and the results speak for themselves. We're a multinational conglomerate for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like really, we're raising the bar throughout this podcast.
But hey, seriously, could we talk about money?
Yeah, we really should. And we're kind of running a little short on time. So I guess kind of, and you might have something very specific, but I want to know, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but I'm going to ask it. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Let's hear it.
How much money did you sink into this operation?
And why?
And why?
And what were you thinking?
Also, just in the vein of like the build out, tell us about, you've kind of mentioned holes in the ground and things of that sort, but like give a bigger picture of the build out. You'll probably need to say what this space is like because it's very different. And I don't think we've mentioned the split.
Yeah. So the cafe is a 2-building lot, a 1900 single pump gas station that is 8 feet wide by 32 feet long. and 1/3 of that space is a bathroom. The other 2/3 is an order and bar area where we're making food and coffee, which is kind of crazy and kind of awesome. And then the other building was added in the 40s and is a mechanic's garage turned seating area, storage, and bathroom.
Which we are in.
Which we are in right now. And we started out, you want to spend not very much money building something, and then you start running numbers, and the numbers crawl up. And we probably had some of those early conversations where I was like, we can do it for, I don't know,
20 grand.
I think you said like 40.
I was going to say, I thought you said 40.
I think it was like, yeah, we can pull this off for 40,000. And you said, probably not going to happen. And
we try to be as lovingly as a hater as possible, right?
Yeah, you were like, you probably shouldn't start a coffee shop ever.
Clear as kind.
No matter how much money.
You should see what I say about you on my ex account.
Oh,
it's nasty.
Yeah, it's really mean.
This guy
thinks he can, but we kind of like put together like what we'll be willing to spend if we could take on debt, put our own personal savings into this crowdfund, which we did. And we were basically like, we just can't justify opening a cafe spending more than $100,000 on the build out. And we would really love to spend like $65,000. We'd love to spend less, but when we started putting together all the numbers, equipment, stuff that had to change in the building that we were responsible for, right, there's no way we're getting away under 65. And we came in right at like $72,000 in on the cafe. That's
amazing.
Equipment, which is it. To be fair, for anyone listening to this who's trying to put together their budget, I've talked to a few folks who have asked me questions about that. The building owners very generously, of their own volition, offered to assist in some of the major overhaul in the building, and they also sought out grant money to help pay for the other stuff. So the city put close to $12,000 into the building. They helped pay for signage, and they paid for new windows and doors, which is amazing. The building owners
beautiful.
Windows
took
and
on
doors,
another.
man.
Yeah,
That's so expensive.
they're really expensive. The garage
saying
door,
like
the garage
$12,000.
door was $15,000.
Yeah.
And we never would have
15?
$15,000.
Yeah, I was
Dude,
looking
I
at that
looked
thing.
at that's one of the first things I
and you're
noticed.
like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's like
That thing
an
looked,
architectural series
spinning.
aluminum cloak.
That's more than I make in a year.
But we
No, he said 15, not
yeah.
1 million and
Oh,
500,000.
not 1.5 mil.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
but the building owners took on another like $90,000 in expenses. So that stuff is there. Now, to be fair, the little building where the bar is, when they had removed the gas station portion or the actual gas pump, you have to remediate the gas tanks that are underneath for it to be changed to something else commercial. So when that happened, they took out all of the plumbing underneath the building. They just broke all the lines. So we had to rip up the entire floor, reconnect to the water main, run actual plumbing that could be connected to sinks and all that stuff. There's like was no infrastructure for that. There was like old terracotta drain lines and whatever. Whoa. And there was a new-ish panel that was put in a few years ago, and there was truly one conduit line running off of it with a light switch. And then everything else was cross-wired with the second building, which is not legal by, like, it's out of code. So we had to disconnect and rewire everything into that building and then run all new conduit. And that stuff adds up pretty fast. So that most of that electrical was on us. Most of the finished plumbing was on us. But the building owners sunk a bunch of money into that. We had to level this floor that was like sloped for the mechanic garage portion, whatever. But the building owners paid for all that stuff. So
Wow.
altogether, some people who are opening a cafe are probably in for all of that stuff. And we just wouldn't have, it would have been a no-go.
And that would have been more like 200, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would have come out probably right at like, I've seen all of the stuff that they've spent because they've like shared all of their numbers on everything. So it came out to be like right about 160 on everything altogether, that's including $30,000 of that was to just get water in that building. So minus that, somewhere in the low like 100 to 125K. It seems like if you're really, I mean, we were like really fortunate to have relationships where we got great equipment prices. Mm-hmm. We built.
I mean, I'm looking at that
furniture.
booth. I was sitting behind you in those tables, and if those were a custom job from someone you didn't know, I'm assuming
have talented siblings and friends, guys.
Wild.
But the table that we're sitting at right now is a white maple, 8 foot long, 3.5 foot wide table. And it
It's
cost us
gorgeous.
$145 to
Insane.
build, and it probably costs $7,000 to buy. No
Exactly.
joke. I mean, so you gotta, and you have to know your strong suits. And that was Asa, who's a partner in the business, put cash in and put an insane number of hours and a lot of skill into making this. He custom designed and built all the countertops, built all the support system for everything on the bar.
He was your support system too.
And he
right?
was, yeah. And honestly, I would not have made it to the finish line of Buildout if he wasn't here. He's the most positive person you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Facts.
And he really is.
No printer, y'all. I'm serious.
And I would get pretty bummed out on stuff where I'm like, this is stupid. And I had, Ibby knows too, that like, I would throw fits about stuff from just like, this can't work. This can't work. We should have never done this. This is so stupid. This is ridiculous. And he would be like, come on, like we're gonna make it through. And in designing the bar, I was like, I don't know. We were debating materials and all that stuff. We wanted to do a stainless countertop, and stainless countertops are really expensive. And we decided to just figure out how to get the materials and build it all ourselves. And we spent $400 on the entire bar build out, which is also not, if you hire people to do stuff, it will cost you a lot more money, but you probably should hire people to do stuff that you can't do well. So be really multi-talented, or have people that are really multi-talented who are in your corner, or trade stuff. Like we did, the person that co-branded everything with, Nathan, who's done work for you guys too. He was like, I'm not going to take any money for this, but like, I'd love to kind of have a tab at the shop for a while until it is kind of like close to what this stuff would cost. And he's doing, branding for New York restaurants and big corporations and
Like
whatever.
Valor.
Like us.
Yeah. And multinational.
So he's like, this is probably worth like $3 million.
So yeah, we're going to be giving him free coffee for a while. But
That is amazing. So would you say it's fair to say that you also had a bit of a lenient time with your city and state? Wasn't that a thing?
Hey, I don't want to say lenient. I want to give a lot of credit to the Northern Kentucky folks for being really, I want to say easy to work with, as in like really relationally solid.
But like
people.
for you getting a business open, I guess.
Yes, yeah. I think that's true. I think there's two sides of things. I want to highlight this for people who are starting something. Every like municipality, district, city, whatever is completely different. I know to some extent. But I think we went in with this approach. People have all their nightmare stories with health, with building, where they're like, someone came in and they told us to change this thing and it cost us $10,000 and we all this stuff. And I know that stuff that happens and it's real for all sorts of business owners. I decided, I was like, I'm going to try to like turn that narrative a little bit and build relationships with everyone that has a say in everything, and ask as many questions as possible, as often as possible, so we don't make any decisions that we have to undo. And so I was on like a cell phone call basis with every person pretty much involved, like the health inspector, the director of environmental safety, our building inspector, and sanitation, like anything that touched this. We could build like a really good rapport. And so I would actually like call Donnie, our building inspector, and obviously it's small town America, so it operates differently, but I like call Donnie and say, before I make a purchase on this thing, I want to know like, is this in code for the building? Are we allowed to do this? Whatever. And he worked with us on a lot of stuff, but he was like extremely helpful in that. And we didn't make any costly purchases that we had to undo. And we kind of got those conversations rolling early before we like shot ourselves in the foot. So they were awesome, but I also think that we didn't take this approach of trying to get away with anything.
Yeah.
We just asked help, like, can we do this? And they've been really like flexible, as in like there's a letter of the law and there's a spirit of the law, and you guys are not trying to like, you're only trying to make people have the best experience and be healthy and great. You're not trying to like use spoiled products, because there are people that just kind of like, they're trying to get around stuff constantly. And we are not trying to like do something that's off the books.
But rotten food is so good.
Yeah, you're like, we should use expired milk, right, guys?
Well,
We've all done it.
I think regardless of where you live, that's kind of an epic piece of advice, because our first shop was in Fulton County, and it's very big, and the health department is very behind because of just like how many things are happening there. And so they're pretty stressed and stretched. But I was able to get a hold of our health inspector before we opened. And I was like, hey, my name's Ethan. I've never done this before. I know that you guys are going to come for an inspection before. Is there any resources or things that we could do ahead of time to like prepare ourselves and like get things in order? And she actually got back to me. She's like, this is awesome. I was like, thank you so much for reaching out. Here's all these things I'm going to be looking for. Here's like everything I'm going to grade you on. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
great.
Get the checklist. There's like,
Yeah.
and it's crazy.
They want you to win.
I called Jenna, our health inspector, and I was like, Jenna, I need to know like what would be helpful for you to have to make it worth your time to come do our final inspection. And she's like, oh, I'll just email you a checklist. Like, make sure you have these things. And we like couldn't find. I could have sworn we ordered Sandy testing strips. Could not find them. And so I like ordered some on Amazon. They weren't going to get there fast enough. So I called our friend DJ, who was here today, and I was like, DJ, can we borrow some from your cafe? Because this is like on the checklist of stuff that we need, and ours won't get here till tomorrow. And so we had Sandy strips, and she's like, all right, you guys have, like, she's going through a checklist, and it was like 15 minutes, and we were done. And then it's funny enough, it's like you forget that those folks are people too in the process, and they want good things to thrive. And like the other day, someone came in, and I was like, how did you hear about the shop? She's like, actually, your health inspector is my best friend. And she sent me and was like, this place is awesome. And,
Wow.
And she can't say that on, obviously, they just have to be like, we're here to follow the law and make sure that you're compliant with all this stuff. But she's like a, I don't know, 28-year-old health inspector who's like, can come to a place and be like, yeah, this would be a really fun place to hang out. I'm going to like send my friend. And so they came.
Yeah. And it's a good word about how different places can be, because like, I think just legitimately there's probably a $20,000 gap between what you had to spend and what we had to spend to like get everything happening.
That is the thing about Northern Kentucky. We didn't have to have an engineer. We didn't have to have an architect. We got away with, I like drew all of our shop plans on Illustrator. Yeah. And
that's still a skill though that you used.
Oh yeah.
You may have had to pay someone else.
Now you
really
can
good
start
at
charging people
Illustrator.
$20,000 for that, right?
Yeah. I make floor plans on Fiverr for people. Can we talk about hospitality for a second, guys? Before I know we have to wrap this thing up. How much time we got, Riley?
We've probably got
1 minute.
8 minutes.
8
I think-
minutes.
All
There's
I'm saying
nothing.
is,
No one can talk about hospitality for more than 8 minutes.
no,
Right.
There's nothing to say. You just do it. And that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Action.
That was a good word earlier though, about saying like, I'm not saying I'm fostering community. I'm just doing
Foster
it.
community. I want to say this more towards you guys, because you taught me more than, hey, yeah, get close. You showed me that a shop can be an atmosphere that makes people feel welcome in the space. And until I went to Valor, I had never ever experienced that kind of thing. So kudos to you. And what we're doing here in Northern Kentucky is a little brother or little sister or a thing that resembles.
Cousin,
Yeah, it's a cousin.
cousin.
It's a cousin.
same age.
Same age.
Yeah.
Cousin, very, very close cousin.
Like you,
first cousin.
You grew up
First
together,
cousin.
best friend,
Like,
cousin.
yes, you got together every summer, all summer. But it is so rare that people have this experience of being cared for. And now I feel like it's so rare that I feel confident in my recommendations of places. Like I caveat stuff for people, but I never caveat Valor, because I'll tell folks like, yeah, you should go to this place. The coffee's great, but like, who knows what kind of experience you're gonna have. And I have road tripped more places than I can remember in my adult life, and I'm like mapping coffee stops along the way, and very few of them have stood out to me as being something that I want to send other people to, other than like, yeah, if you're in this place, they make good coffee, I guess. And we've all talked about that a good bit. But I'm proud to send people to Valor, and I've had so many folks, like they always echo the experience that I sent them to experience. And that is the thing that's crazy here, is a bunch of people have asked us like, how are you so busy when you've been open for 10 days? How is every seat taken in the cafe? Or how do you have a line out the door on a Thursday? And I'm like, people come because they have been told by someone else that they had great coffee, they were treated really nicely, and the whole atmosphere of the space was really inviting and kind. And someone who was in here earlier, I can't remember, trying to remember the words that he used, but he was like, I just think that if I had 2 words to describe this place, it feels, I can't remember if it was like personal or like honest or like, and it feels full of integrity to like who you guys are. You know, I think that's true. But that is like, that will stand out 10,000 times more. Like people go to Valor, and Valor has a fan club all over the place now because people have gone and they're like, this place was so, they just are so awesome there. You know, and you've hired all sorts of great people that have represented that vision well, and you've been those people too. And I think now it's like, it is not easy, but it is way easier than you think to make people love the thing that you do. And that's by loving doing the thing that you do and letting people experience that wholeheartedly. And it is crazy. It's crazy how low the bar is for that. And people love it. Sasha, who was here today, this was her 6th time here. And every time she has biked 40 minutes each way. She's here for a summer internship from the University of Iowa.
Go Hawkeyes.
Yeah, come on. And
You're gonna have to pay for an Uber for her.
I know,
one
like,
day.
hey, you got to stop doing this. It's really not that far. It's just a long bike ride. But she messaged us and was like, you've changed my entire experience of my summer
Oh my
by
gosh.
being here.
Wow.
You know? And she was here for a long time today because she doesn't have any friends in Cincinnati. She's met all the people that she's talked about this summer. She's met here.
Wow.
And like her parents came to visit for 1 weekend of the summer, and she came here for like the whole afternoon with them because she wanted them to meet us, right? And how many times have you had that happen where people are like, they're like, my buddy Ethan works at that, like they like want to bring people to you or send people to you because human connection is like, that is the foundation of this. And anything like all of the stuff that has been said in the coffee industry, you've read every roaster's website about like, we have this intentional connection between farmer to seed to cup and all the hands that touch the beans along the way and everyone who stands in unison together making a great product. There's all these philosophical things. And then almost always the cafe experience is the worst part of that whole deal.
Yeah.
And I think I bring all that up and wanted to say that here on air with you guys because I think what you're doing is worthwhile because people are getting to experience an awesome thing, which is great coffee. But the thing that sticks out, what you say in your own orientation, people will forget. Well, I can't remember all the things that Maya Angelou says in that. What you said,
What you did.
but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I think that is reflected in like, it's only worth building something if you think about the way that you're actually going to touch people, you know? And small business is just people interacting with people. All we did is sign a bunch of paperwork and spend a bunch of money and pay for a bunch of random permits and get a bunch of equipment and then flip a sign. And now like the most random people in the world, people who have come from literally all over the place. People road tripping from Canada, people visiting from Hong Kong, people who live 2 blocks away. And we just like flipped a sign that says Elliott Coffee open now, and they're allowed to come in, and then they're allowed to walk away with whatever experience they have at the shop.
Yeah.
And you guys have, I think, set a fire in a lot of places around the country to make a different kind of coffee culture. And I'm in for that. And that's what we want to do here.
Well, thank you. And that's what you are doing here. You saying all that makes me think about how the farm to cup story is only important and it only is impactful to its maximum if you have a captive audience to share it with. You can have every single bit of the material outlining how X roaster knows this farmer and goes and shakes their hand and has poured money into the farm and how their product has gotten better and they've raised their prices and all this and all this and all this. And all of that stuff is amazing and necessary and great. And I 100% back it. But whenever the progression gets to the end of the chain, which is if your wholesale sales guy is kind of a jerk or doesn't reach out to people, or the baristas behind the bar aren't taking care of the guests and are only caring about the product, that means they're probably not serving as much of that farmer that they love so much. They're not serving as much of their coffee as they otherwise could. You know, they could be filling a container instead of buying.
Some would say it's a disgrace to the farmer.
Yeah,
Well
could be
said.
filling a container instead of
words.
buying 20 sacks. You know, so
Yeah, that's good.
that's a funny thing. But thank you for those words.
I feel so encouraged.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have no doubt about your success. You know,
Thanks, guys.
it's not even in question that you're gonna crush it forever and do whatever you want with this place.
It's cool, man. You're already successful based on your own vision, right? Like to love a community is to know and be known by them. And like literally 12 days in,
Yeah,
People
man.
are like,
you know, like
yeah.
90% of the people that are coming in, and you're like caring about them and asking them questions and giving them a space to belong. It's like, check, done. And that it only compounds, which is so cool. I mean, just to think like if you went and did it, when you go to a guest bar shift at Valor,
Can't wait.
you're still going to know so many people because
Yeah.
they're just known at Valor, and they're like, I'm this is my spot. They know me here.
That I think is the thing that you can never forget in building literally anything. I mean, like what you build with your life, even if it's not a coffee thing and you're listening to this and you have a completely different dream, is that whatever you do like actually touches somebody. Even when I'm doing web design work, I'm like, the people that I'm designing websites for have like entire lives and stories and experiences, and they can either experience me in the space of designing a website as just like a contractor doing a site for them, or they can experience me as someone who's really interested in their thing and like invested in making something good. And you see it pay off. I mean, we have probably my favorite story from doing this so far is Chris and Lynn, who we all know and love, drove from North Alpharetta all the way up here to surprise me on bar last week. And it was like an emotional thing for me because we have never hung out outside of Valor, not a single time, but we have talked for countless hours from me being a barista at Valor and them coming in pretty much every day without fail, enough where they feel a connection to just come and do like a road trip with a single destination, which is coming and hanging out at Elliot for a day. And that is like, those are real relationships. Like it's not, we didn't just make them a gazillion lattes over that time or pour them drip coffee or whatever. It's, you actually like, those are people that care about me and like are invested in my life and cried when they found out that we're having a baby, you know?
Wow.
And it's like, and this too, getting to do that on bar, we've all got like, we're friends. We're going to go play sports after this and goof
You
off.
don't have to lie,
Yeah,
dude.
I'm not going to play sports. Yeah.
We're driving straight home.
But that, like, it's whatever you build with your life, like, lean into the fact that it is connected to the people around you because it's awesome. How fun is it that we met because I called or emailed Ross in 2020 asking for a job, and now you're some of my favorite people. And I get to serve coffee that you are roasting to people here in Northern Kentucky. And that is like those interconnected things in life. Don't forget that is how this works. Like Google reviews will not last in your mind forever in like some magazine article or like being highlighted as an interesting new thing by Sprudge or whatever. All like those things. The shop will close eventually. All of us will like, we're not gonna like Valor will not exist.
We're all gonna die.
And on that note, but these relationships, here we are. We're no longer bound by employee, whatever that is.
Yep.
But we love spending time together because we built relationships like actually serving people together. It's really fun.
It's awesome, dude.
Right, Timmy?
Give your Instagram and then give 3 shout outs. Ethan, Ross, and Riley.
Yeah.
Please.
After
Wait,
the
what
three-
kind of shout outs do you want? Like just people who helped with like a build out or
I don't care, whatever you want. You
All right.
can shout out like Tom Hanks, if you want to.
That was exactly who I was thinking.
Shout out like who you're voting for in the upcoming election. I don't care.
Well, our Instagram is at cafe.elliot, 2 L's, 2 T's. And you can send me an email at elijah@elliottcafe.com, 2 L's, 2 T's. And I'll probably respond to you. I don't know what you would want to email me about, but have at it.
Payroll software.
Yeah, like how we're running the most profitable coffee shop in Northern Kentucky.
Title of this episode.
Well, first I'd have to shout out our entire team. But we're going to say Ibby, Asa, my parents who've been incredibly helpful in this process, everyone who crowdfunded this thing, all 220 people that gave money to make this happen. Shout out to Timmy and Asa. And honestly, I want to shout out the other cafes that have inspired this. I want to shout out Valor for being a hospitality foundation for us. And Sidetrack, David, we love you.
See you one day.
I have to shout out Meadowlark for doing
JP
a really good
McKenzie.
job. Hey, JP,
Summer
also
McKenzie.
love you. Summer, running an amazing, showing that you can do amazing stuff in a small town and have awesome multi-roaster
In a small
program.
space.
Yeah, in a small space. All of that has been like a foundation for me. And I also just want to shout out all of the folks that have chosen to make this a daily part of their life. It's crazy that people are like, yeah, this is my spot now. Yeah, like I'm here all the time. I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm like, that has made our life so fun because it's like, wait, that's actually true. Like you can come back tomorrow. And I can't even stop you if I wanted to. Like you could show up at open, you could show up at 2:59 p.m. and I'll still be here making coffee. Shout out.
It's amazing.
What's your favorite drink to make right now?
Oh, just a cappuccino. Oh, come on. I have to shout out REL from Best Behavior Ceramics.
Yeah.
And Zion from Clyde Designs. Come on, guys. They deserve credit. Other Valor Crew folks. But I love pouring a cap. Come on.
Yeah. Gotta
You
love
know
it.
you do too. And Ross, Ethan, you guys both poured some beautiful caps today.
I just didn't have the opportunity.
I mean,
Yeah, we didn't let Riley touch
I
the
figured it out right at the end.
machine. You poured some really good stuff at the
You
beginning.
just don't turn the knob all the way.
Linear
you didn't
PB.
tell us that.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
it
knew that.
kinda-
I just still.
Yeah, I knew that too.
What's a valve?
Yeah. Dude, we love you.
Hey,
We
Thanks
love
for
you.
being on our
I
podcast.
love you, Ethan.
Let's go play
Ross,
sports.
Riley. Pickleball time.
Yeah, let's hang out. Wink.
Bye.